Hey, can we go see Spider-Verse? No, we have Spider-Verse at home. The Spider-Verse at home. When you hear the word convention, you might picture a gigantic space packed to the brim with bodies, where you have to wait in line for 3 hours to attend a panel, the rows of vendors stretch to the horizon, and every moment is a sensory overload of sight and sound. Now, these cons can still be a great experience, but for people who want a more laid-back convention atmosphere, ConnectiCon is the perfect size to spare you the crowd crush while still leaving you with more than enough activities to fill your day. In terms of theme, it's most comparable to something like Comic-Con, where it celebrates all facets of nerdy culture. Though anime does seem to be more heavily represented in the cosplay and the guest list. But ConnectiCon is an incredibly unique experience overall, with activities ranging from a full Japanese arcade to cosplay wrestling, a deathmatch, and a full-on video game metal concert. My absolute favorite part of ConnectiCon this year was the gaming area, where the con brought in an entire Japanese arcade with games of all genres from fighting to racing to shooters. While I did sample those offerings, what caught my attention most was the rhythm games section. The con had machines for Sound Voltex, Groove Coaster, Jubi, and many others, but the cream of the crop was this washing machine looking game called Mai Mai. I had seen videos of people playing it in Japan, but had never had the chance to play it for myself. The game features 8 buttons in a circle that you have to press in time with the music, and I must have spent hours just on this machine. It really took a lot of energy too. I would definitely use this game as a daily workout if I could. The best part about the arcade is that there were so many machines that I never had to wait more than 10 minutes for another go, and most of the time I could just hop from one unoccupied cabinet to another. The downside? After getting an extreme rhythm game fix over the course of the weekend, I now have an addiction to rhythm games that I filled with D4DJ, basically like a mobile version of Sound Voltex that's super fun. But rhythm games weren't the only gaming experience ConnectiCon had to offer. There were also tons of consoles available for use, ranging from current gen all the way back to Atari 2600. The con also didn't neglect tabletop gamers. It offered RPG sessions, as well as an extensive library of board games you could borrow for free. The next super unique part of ConnectiCon, which also happened to share a space with the gaming area, was Cosplay Championship Wrestling. This is the second year the con has had this unique performance, and I have to say that it's completely changed my mind about wrestling shows. I used to not understand why people enjoyed them, and found them a little cringy, but watching these performers take familiar characters and pit them together in wacky matchups legitimately got me hyped. A lot of them pulled some genuinely impressive stunts while also playing up the comedy and embodying their characters well. It was a head-turning spectacle that I always stayed to watch when I was in that part of the convention center. Next, I'd like to talk a little bit about ConnectiCon's panels. As I mentioned before, the guest list was heavily skewed toward anime voice actors, although the lack of other types of guests was partially due to the event conflicting with the much larger San Diego Comic-Con. There were a few other guests like some authors, magicians, and Steve Jackson of Steve Jackson Games. Side note, I would love it if ConnectiCon would consider inviting some big VTubers for virtual appearances in the future. This year they had Amelie, but I think she was invited more due to her anime voice roles. Many of the guests had their own panels, but the real charm of ConnectiCon, and what sets it apart from one of the really big cons, is that just about anyone can hold their own panel if they put in an application. For example, I attended a panel by 2 VTubers who applied for their own panel to talk about the process of becoming a VTuber. While I've already been one for a while, I was interested to see what their perspective was.
Hello, and hold on. My name is Slayer Vane. I am your humble mercenary who's trying to survive an insane world ravaged by gods and goddesses alike. Alright, so that is my entire personality.
The 2 were called Cyan and Slayer Vane, and they gave some genuinely good advice like warning about parasocial audience members and graphic design scammers, as well as outlining the whole process from coming up with a concept to actually making content as a VTuber. They did a good job highlighting both the fun parts and the downsides, and they both had a great sense of humor and were very friendly, answering audience questions after the panel was done. In other con panels, you could find anything from anime trivia to deep philosophical discussions of media, to a guy eating an entire rotisserie chicken by himself. Yes, that was a thing apparently. Now let's move on to the ConnectiCon shopping experience. The dealer's hall had pretty much anything you could possibly want, including figures, Japanese snacks, swords, dice and tabletop gaming supplies, video games, plushies, clothing, trading cards, and too many other things to list. I kept my budget light this year as I was saving money for other things, but I did pick up a few volumes of Death Note that I needed, plus Spy Kids 2 for Game Boy for a little nostalgia boost. I also got this super cute D20 turtle from a place called ROC Games, who let anybody who followed them on social media spin a prize wheel. I also got a free comic given out by the creator of Control-Alt-Delete, and finally, I picked up these gorgeous mini Hololive art cards from @1340smile on Twitter and Instagram. There were so many talented people in the artist alley, but this art really stood out to me. I also just want to speak for a second on food. The convention center actually had pretty reasonably priced food, but I got food from the food truck festival that was happening outside. In most years that I've been to this con, it's coincided with this festival, and I would definitely recommend checking that out before buying a generic burger or hot dog from the con. Next, I want to highlight cosplay. Even though the con isn't huge, people put a ton of effort into their cosplays. Here are a few that I was most impressed with throughout the weekend. Also, I want to give a shout out to this Iroh cosplayer, a legendary presence at the con, who's sadly said that this will be his last year. Now it's time to talk about the most exciting night of ConnectiCon, Saturday night, which had 3 amazing back-to-back activities. The first was a concert by Lame Genie, which played some incredible metal covers of video game music. After this fantastic concert, there was a screening of the AMV contest winners. Yes, people still make AMVs, and the quality on these was extremely high. But finally, for the event I've always called the crown jewel of ConnectiCon, the Cosplay Deathmatch. This is a yearly tradition where a whole bunch of competitors in cosplay come up on stage, then the audience votes on who they want to win. After that, they act out a fight to the death. And while I always enjoy this event when I see it, this year, I think people really outdid themselves. Everyone was extremely in character and produced some of the most entertaining scenes yet. The ultimate winner was Steve from Blue's Clues, who amazingly won the deathmatch without actually hurting a single person. In all of his matches, his enemies either turned on each other or met their end through silly accidents. Lord Farquaad from Shrek was the runner-up, and his executioner used his signs with great effectiveness during the course of the night. The deathmatch wouldn't be possible without the incredible host Mookie, who brings an infectious energy and plenty of dad jokes to the spectacle. Mookie dedicates all sacrifices to his teddy bear Odin, who has achieved legendary status at the con. All around, ConnectiCon is a con I will always love coming back to no matter how many larger events I go to. It offers unique activities and a chill atmosphere, while still having more than enough things to do to fill your days. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please consider liking and subscribing. I'm Matrix from Matrix AM, Anime, and more, and I hope you have a great day.